Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Hispanic Federation's New York City Virtual Career Expo series. The Hispanic Federation, in partnership with the New York City Department of Youth and Community Development, is hosting a 4-part webinar series to provide New York City residents with career opportunities and have a chance to meet training providers, connect with hiring resources, learn how to navigate applying and interviewing for jobs, as well as get connections to a multitude of job opportunities. My name is Vivi Acosta, and I am the Director of Economic Empowerment at the Hispanic Federation. I am very excited about the second session we have organized for you today, where you will hear from the Department of Citywide Administrative Services, or Dcas, who will present career opportunities in the public sector. Whatever your career ambitions are, chances are that the public sector has an opportunity for you. New York City represents the largest local government in the US with more than 400,000 employees across 80 agencies. Again, this is the second of our 4-part Career Expo webinar series. And if you're interested in learning more about the next 2 sessions or view our past sessions, which have been great, please, you can visit our website at hispanicfederation.org/careerexpo2022 to register. And just before we start, please make sure that you are muted, that your mic is muted. If you have any questions, you could click on the Q&A icon that's at the bottom of your screen to submit any questions that come up. And you can use the chat for comments. And please note that this webinar is being recorded. Now let's get started with today's events. Work in the public sector. Learn about working in city government, applying for current job opportunities, and taking the civil service exam. We are excited to hear from 2 of our experts of the field, John Bonner, which is the Citywide Recruitment Specialist of Dcas, and in the Department of Citywide Equity and Inclusion, and Raymond Cruz, the Citywide Recruitment Specialist of Dcas. Without any further delay, thank you, John and Raymond, for joining us, and please take it away.
Thank you, Ms. Acosta, and welcome everyone. Thank you and good morning. Glad to have you here with us. Yes, my name is Raymond Cruz. I am a Citywide Recruitment Specialist, and let's begin with our Civil Service 101 presentation. We're in the Office of Citywide Recruitment, OCR for short, and we're in the Division of Citywide Equity and Inclusion, CEI. So today we're going to talk about Dcas a little bit, just to let you get familiar with us. We're going to explain to you New York City at a glance, New York City career paths, civil service examination process, or what happens after you take a citywide exam, the that city civil service examination process, and the post-exam process, which we're going to talk about after that, and the Q&A segment where you get to ask us questions. Next slide. So about Dcas, if we could just maybe John, put that in slide mode, the way I'm looking at it.
Oh, which one do you have it in? I'm sorry. Do you see it now?
It's a little bit bigger. Yes. Okay.
Okay. I saw it the other way by accident. I had it right.
Thank you. So New York City Department of Citywide Administrative Services, we don't say that all day long. You can call us Dcas, and we provide effective shared services to support the operations of New York City government. We have a commitment to equity, effectiveness, and sustainability, and it guides us in our work with our other 80 city agencies on recruitment, hiring, and training our city employees, providing facilities and management for those 55 public buildings. We sell and lease city properties, purchase over $1 billion worth of supplies and equipment each year, and we implement conservation and safety programs throughout the city's facilities and vehicle fleet. So let's talk about New York City government at a glance. As mentioned, we have over 80 city agencies, over 400,000 city employees, and we have over 2,000 different types of job titles that you can have a career in. There are also 500 programs and initiatives. So we want you to know that people who work for the city of New York invest in our communities. We want to help improve the lives of others, and we like to see the result of our work and the effect it has. There's great job security and opportunity to grow a career, and also a great work-life balance with great benefits. So we want you to know that the city employees serve over 8 million New Yorkers on a daily basis. Next. So let's talk about New York City careers. If you're not familiar with them, there are many. Here's just a few that are on this slide. And we want you to consider the type of career that you want to have, whether it's clerical or whether it's working in emergency response, teaching, health services, data, protecting others. We want you to think about what you want to do. Next. So we want to talk to you about New York City communities. So we want you to think about who you want to serve and who are your customers. We have a Department for the Aging for our seniors. We have the New York City Children's Services for our youth. And we always are thinking about helping our homeless population. We have a Department for Homeless Services and the Department of Information Technology and Telecommunications. It's a very inclusive workforce. There are, as we mentioned, over 80 city agencies. This slide that we are depicting shows you just a few of them that you might see in New York City on our trucks, buses that are running around in the city. And this is an idea that we want you to explore and find the agency which serves that community. Now, there are many ways to start a New York City career. There are internships where you must be enrolled in high school or college. There are fellowships where you must have recently graduated within the last 2 years at the time of the application. We have job postings, and you can apply for them on our website, nyc.gov/jobs. And we also have, on a monthly basis, civil service exams, and you can apply for exams at our other website, nyc.gov/Dcas. So when it comes to careers, we want you to review and see how do you match up with a job posting. Well, there are many career levels. Let's talk about student. You must be enrolled in school. For entry-level career level, you must have a minimum education or experience. For experienced positions, for non-managerial, we require that you have a combination of education and some experience. For managerial positions, we require that you have a combination of supervisory experience. And for executive positions, we want you to have an advanced degree and management experience. Something that's also on our job postings that you should review and make sure that you match up with is preferred skills. And this is where the hiring manager is seeking other characteristics in a candidate. And they may be whether you have problem-solving abilities, if you're a team player, if you have time and people management skills, whether you have strong written and verbal communication skills, the ability to multitask and prioritize, or even if you're proficient in computer software. So we want you to know that preferred skills are just as important. We want you to mention them in your cover letter and during your interview. Next. So something you may not be familiar with, that once you become a city employee, in many cases, you may have two titles. One is a civil service title and one is a business title. The civil service title is a title that's used to track your professional journey within government. It's very broad and covers many different job categories and operations. The business title is an office title, and it's used to really summarize the type of work that you actually do on a daily basis. An example of a civil service title that we have here is staff analyst. Staff analyst is a title, but it does not explain what you are doing on a daily basis. But on the other side, you will see where it has here recruiter or project manager or financial analyst, which is more specific to what the employee will be doing on a daily basis. There are some titles where the civil service title and the business title are one and the same, and it's mostly the uniform titles. Examples that we have here, one example is firefighter, where the civil service title and the business title is the same, but you also may be in the title of probation officer or correction officer or traffic enforcement agent. Next slide. So now we're going to do a virtual website tour where we're going to go to nyc.gov/jobs. And here we're going to show you how we search for internships and fellowships, full-time positions, and we're going to take a look at a job vacancy notice. Here is our website, nyc.gov/jobs. And if you see the landscape here, this is basically east to west, and you see Central Park there on the right, then you know you're on the right page. This has a very, very comprehensive page here where you have jobs home and get started. But what we're going to do is click on Explore Careers. When you click on Explore Careers, you go to a very, very hefty page where you begin by saying there are many ways to find opportunities in New York City government. And you'll notice as John is hovering over these icons here, you'll see that the system is actually very active, and it can then search and identify either by interest or by agency or by internship and fellowship. If we scroll down a little bit further on this page, you'll see we also have live icons that lead to links where you can find a job based on your career interest, whether it's administration and human resources or technology, data and innovation, legal affairs. There's many of them that you can scroll on, and the system will actually filter and then sort and give you those types of jobs that are available today. If we scroll further down the page and you're interested in one of our specific agencies, you have a list of all of them right here. And again, John is showing by hovering above them that they are active. And if you click on any one of them, the system will directly give you those jobs that are in that city agency. Scrolling further down, you'll see that we have the internships and fellowships. And right now, we're actually looking for candidates for the summer internship program, which is for 13 weeks. And you only have to be enrolled in college. That's the only requirement. There are others as well. Urban Fellows, it's an 8-month program where you get a stipend. And then there's also Public Service Corps, which can lead up to working for the city 4 to 6 years. Now, let's go back to the top and start looking for jobs. So what we do is scroll to the top, and we will click on Jobs Home. And we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to click Search one time, and the system will move to this page. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on Search again, because what we want to show you is that there is a filter that will come up on the left-hand side, will show you how you can use the system to sort the jobs that you're looking for. It does take a little bit of time because of the, bandwidth and Wi-Fi, and everyone's moving around and looking for jobs because it's the right thing to do, but it does take a few seconds. But if you do happen to know a keyword, you can put that in there. You can also, if someone shares with you a job ID number, you can actually add the job ID number in there. There are other websites also that share our information. If you want to use the search by agency, this actually has a drop down as well. Sometimes we try this over again. I think that was a good move, John. But you see also, John, you can show them the drop down for the agencies. So we're having a heavy traffic day because guess what, folks? It's raining in New York. So everyone's at home and they're searching. But here's what we wanted to show you. And so you'll see on the left-hand side, if you remember the slide I was talking to you about the career levels, well, guess what? Here we have career levels. You can search for jobs either by borough or the career levels that I mentioned earlier. And you'll notice there's a number on the right-hand side of each of these categories. And that means that's the number of positions in that particular category. So you'll see entry level 273 or student 160, or we even have the job categories below. It's a little bit of a repeat of the previous screen link where we were showing you the icons that you could check for the different interests and categories. And if you click on more, you'll get an extended list of the job categories. Another thing is you see the number of positions that can be found today is 2,590. That number has been steadily going up. John, maybe you have an idea of what job we're going to search for today. But while you're doing that, I just want to mention to everyone that we mentioned earlier on the previous slide that there were over 80 different city agencies and over 400,000 city employees. I want you to know that during COVID, none of those city employees were laid off because of COVID. So I just wanted you to know how secure the city's workforce was. So here we are. It's a very comprehensive page. John has chosen us to look at a job posting for the New York City Housing Authority. And here are the particulars on that. There's always going to be a 6-digit job ID number. You'll see there's a business title, as I mentioned, and also a civil service title. And as I said, sometimes they're one and the same. Here's something of interest, and we're going to talk even more about, is title classification. This is non-competitive. You won't be required to take an exam, but I'm going to fill you in on more details on that. Again, here's the job category, the career level, and even the work location in many instances will be there. And you'll see the number of positions on the right-hand side, the title code number. For every title has a title code number, and the proposed salary range. All these details are confirmed and vetted before they are posted. There's one thing we want you to know is that on every one of our postings, we want you to be mindful that as of August 2nd, 2021, all new hires must be vaccinated against the COVID-19 virus, unless you have been granted a reasonable accommodation for religion or disability. So if you are offered employment by a city agency, you must meet this requirement, or you must present your reasonable accommodation exemption, and it must be received by the hiring agency. So you also have here the option to email this job to someone else if you're interested in sharing it. And you also have all the details you need, the job description that you may be interested in. You want to know what you're doing so you can make an informed decision on whether you want to apply for this job or not. There's minimum qualification requirements. Sometimes there's 3, sometimes there's 7. You only have to meet one of those qualification requirements. So also you'll see, as I mentioned before, the hiring manager has put here the preferred skills for the candidate they're looking for. So these are interests that will fit the dynamic of what the hiring manager is looking for. There's additional information. You should always pay attention to that. And also you'll notice the residency requirement. There are some agencies that require that you have a residency and have proof of that you live within the 5 boroughs within 90 days of being appointed. But there are some agencies that do not have that residency requirement. So make sure you check on that as well. Also, it will show you that there is a posting date. So in many cases, there'll be one date given. Here it is 5/18/2022, and it will end on 5/28. So if you're interested in this position, you better get busy on applying for it. And also, if you are interested, here's what you really need to know. At the very top here on the right-hand side, the green button, and you would apply for this job where the system will ask you questions. You'll log in, you'll answer questions, and the system will ask you to upload your resume and your cover letter. And guess what, folks? No fee was included, no charge was given. This is unlimited. You can go right back and search for another job and do it all over again and apply for more jobs. It's unlimited. So now that is the end of our virtual tour of our jobs website. We're going back to the presentation. Thank you, John.
And Raymond, just to touch upon when we look at I'm just going to go back to the back page. Even though this says number of positions available, this is still considered one job posting notice. So when you look at 2,590 jobs found, these are the job postings. Some job postings may say 2, some may have 10, some even have 250 positions available. So it really depends where you're looking at. So even though this is 2,590 jobs, within each posting, you may have multiple positions that are available.
Yes, some examples are that we've been looking for the past few months, I think, for lifeguards, and we're looking for many of them. So it's multiple positions. And then also during the summer, we look for people to work in the parks. So Parks Department is another good one. Okay. So we're going to go into more explanation about the civil service classifications. I showed you, John and I showed you the previous job posting where it says non-competitive, but we're going to give you a breakdown on the 4 different job classifications. So there are 3 of the classifications that do not require taking an exam and 1 that does. Let's begin with non-competitive. For non-competitive, these are titles that are impractical to test competitively. Examples would be attorneys who usually take what's called the New York State Bar. They pass that, so we do not require that they take exams. And then college aides who are not full-time positions, and so there's not a reason to give them a mandatory exam to keep their position. There's labor class titles, and these are titles where there's no minimum qualification required to be in this position. Examples are caretaker and city park worker. They're basically like on-the-job training types of positions. Next is exempt. You'll see this is when a hiring agency determines the merit and fitness of a candidate, like an assistant district attorney or deputy commissioner. This is also, in fact, what happens when we have a new mayor and he decides that he needs to replace or fill a position. For example, our outgoing fire department commissioner, Michael Nigro, will be replaced by someone that the mayor chooses that has the merit and fitness and special background to take over the fire department. And then finally, we have competitive. These are for titles where an exam must be taken before or after being hired. Titles will be plumber, computer systems manager, and staff analyst. Next. So let's break down the competitive class. There are 3 of them. Let's start with provisional. This is when candidates are hired using the resume and cover letter process when there is no civil service list. Many of these jobs you'll actually find on nyc.gov/jobs. Here's something you need to know though. So if you apply for a job and it happens to be competitive, you must make sure that you take that test and pass it, because if you do not take it and pass it, you will not be able to maintain your job. You will be replaced by someone else who does. And so you will only have 2 months that you can stay in that position. You would apply at nyc.gov/jobs for competitive positions. Employees will have limited disciplinary rights after 2 years of service, but also are unable to take promotional exams. Next is 55A. These are positions for qualified persons with disabilities who are hired into competitive civil service positions without taking exams. Candidates would apply at nyc.gov/jobs for competitive positions. You will have limited disciplinary rights and you can take promotional exams. Finally, there's permanent. These are for candidates who are hired from a civil service list after an exam has been taken and passed. You would apply at nyc.gov/Dcas, which is our exams website, and you will have extensive disciplinary rights. You can take promotional exams to move up to a higher title, and in some cases, you can actually move across to other city agencies and keep your current permanent title with you, as long as the other agency is also using that permanent title. There's also job security as a permanent employee. Next. So now I'm going to hand off the presentation to my colleague, Mr. John Bonner.
No, thank you, Raymond. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Just want to shoot back real quick in regards to the competitive class hires. So I just want to make mention that if you are hired provisionally as a provisional city employee, we give specific civil service 101s that explain about taking an exam, especially if your exam is not coming out, you know, what to do if your title in which you're in. So we do give a lot of information for those that are working, for the city provisionally. For the 55A program, I just want to go a little bit more into depth in that for those who may not know what the 55A program is. 55A falls under New York State Civil Service Law 55A, where there's a certain amount of positions within the city that are allocated for qualified persons with disabilities. Under the law, there are 700 positions. Right now, we have close to about maybe 375 55A candidates who are holding those positions in various city agencies. But the way that the 55A program works is this. Like Raymond mentioned, you would go to our jobs board at nyc.gov/jobs. You would look for a job vacancy notice and make sure that that job vacancy notice is the title classification of competitive. If it says non-competitive, labor, or exempt, the ones that Raymond had mentioned, 55A is not applicable to any of those 3, only for a competitive. Okay, so say you found one and it says competitive. Okay, what you're going to do is, and if you feel that you're qualified for the position, on your resume or cover letter, usually on the cover letter, you want to put down that you want to be considered for the 55A program. Okay, now that doesn't automatically mean that you're going to be hired as a 55A candidate. What's going to happen is you still have to be interviewed and selected. But once you're selected, the hiring agency will then forward the centralized application that they have to our office here at the Office of Citywide Recruitment, who handles the 55 applications citywide. Okay, once we get the application, along with some other supporting documentation, such as your resume and tasks and standards, we are now going to forward that to one of our New York State partners who does the certification. We don't do it, neither does the hiring manager. So please, if you do consider 55A, don't give them any information at the time of hire. Allow for the process to happen. Once one of the state agencies picks it up, which is either New York State Access VR or New York State Commission for the Blind, they're going to certify three things: that there is a certified mental or physical disability, that you can do the job with or without reasonable accommodations, and of course you meet the minimum qualifying requirements with your education and or experience. Once one of those state agencies certifies that, they're going to let us know that you are a 55A candidate. We will then let the agency know that you're eligible, and that's all we tell them. We don't give them any more information other than what they need to know, that you are a 55 candidate. You are then onboarded and you'll start 55A. You can literally stay in that position. Like most people, we do have some people who have been in their 55A position for 30 or 40 years. This program has been around for that long. So you have people who are in that position, okay? If you decide you want to move on, you can always take a promotion exam, okay? And if that test comes out for the title for which you're holding, you don't have to take that exam. So the 55A is a great pathway into city government, and we want to make the city a very inclusive workplace, and we include all diversities, including people, qualified persons with disabilities. Okay, so I just wanted to just go over that so people have a better understanding. There is a resource guide that I provided to the Hispanic Federation that has a lot of information about the 55A program, and I'm always wants to promote it because it is a great program. So back to the civil service history and why do we have to take it? Ready? Okay, so why do we have to take civil service and take exams? It's not something that came up yesterday. It's been around since the late 1800s. It's really because after James Garfield was assassinated when he was president, civil service took a different look. Now, back then we had the spoil system, right? You scratch my back, I scratch yours. And back then there was a supporter or a political loyalty or loyalist. His name was Charles Gautier, who thought that he should have been rewarded with a job of his choice because he wrote a lot of articles for James Garfield for him to win his presidency. When Charles Gautier was denied the job that he wanted as ambassador to France, he shot President James Garfield at a public appearance. But ever since then, and since his assassination, we want to make sure that the civil service process is competitive and fair for everyone. We want to make sure that people are measured by merit and fitness and not based on that political loyalty or faithfulness that Charles Gautier thought he should have been. And of course, we want to make sure that there's job security and that we are providing, the opportunities for promotion. So that's why we have it. We like to discuss a little bit more of the history because everybody always asks, why do we have to do it? So when we look at the civil service exam process, and that's one thing that Dcas really sees is the development, the rating of civil service exams. It's a 6-step process. It's really easy now. It's a lot more customer friendly. Back in the days, there was a lot more with paper and pencil, but we made a little bit more so that we can streamline a lot of these applications. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find out about the exams. You're going to apply for the exams. You're going to take the exam. You're going to get your results and what happens after you get called for the interview. And of course, when you're offered the position with the city of New York. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is just go over some terminologies, and I'll show you why I'm going over this when we look at the exam schedule as well as our Dcas website. So the first thing is, if you don't work for the city, your number one exam is going to be the open competitive exam, and that's basically open to anybody who meets the minimum minimum qualifications. So that's anybody. Now, promotion exams, they're only limited to only the permanent or 55A city employees. Okay, so that means if you were hired provisionally, right, you cannot take a promotion exam, as Raymond had mentioned in that previous slide. The qualified incumbent exam, the reason why we want to let you know about it is because that's inside the exam schedule, so you may see it. So I want you to be familiar with those terminologies. And basically, this is for current provisional employees who already work for the city in certain job titles. And some of these job titles are hard to recruit. So if they've been there for more than 2+ years, we try to matriculate them into a permanent role. Okay, and we're definitely going to go to our Dcas website just to show you what we're talking about. Okay, but make sure that you apply for the exams that are right for you. And if you can, we'll talk a little bit more about if you can take multiple exams, how do you pay for it, right? Because the city, there's that component. We are going to talk about the elephants in the room, but there are some fee waivers, and we'll definitely talk a little bit about that. Okay, so how do you apply for an exam? We do have our online application system. It's called Oasis. This is where you would go to apply, and I'll show you where to go for that. You're going to create your account. You're going to complete your profile. You're going to look at your dashboard for anything that you're doing on any civil service exams. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we have our own computer-based testing and application centers that are not accepting walk-ins. Before that, yes, you could walk in and do a lot of things by paying for an exam, applying for an exam, getting more information about an exam. But right now, you have to make an appointment to actually go there in person. And the reason why we really stress exams is because they're not offered very often. Some may take 5 or 7 years before they're coming out. So we want to make sure that you take them when they're available. Case in point, the sanitation worker exam is coming out next month. The last time it was given was 7 years ago. Yes, 7 years ago in 2015. So we want to make sure that you get this information so you're aware of them, just in case you want to take a civil service exam and become a permanent city employee. Each title has a notice of examination, and it's going to tell you everything you know to know about the exam. So you want to make sure that you read it carefully, okay? And it's really important because it's your responsibility to read the entire NOE, which is the notice of examination, before you submit your application, because we've had that. People submit their applications and be like, oh, can I have my money back? I didn't really want to do that. Nope, unfortunately, once you put submit and all that and money goes in, you cannot get it back. So I'm going to make sure that you read it before you submit your application. Okay, so at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to our Dcas website. For those, maybe you could put that into the chat. I'm not sure if anybody here has ever visited our Dcas website. If you have, put it inside the chat. So I would like to know if you ever been to our Dcas website. It's a very informative one. It'll tell you a little bit more about our exams. It'll tell you a little bit more about our exam schedule. And I'm going to show you what a notice of examination is and the two different types. There's one for multiple choice and one for education experience. Those are the two different types of exams in which you'll be taking. So it's really important that we have that. So I'm just going to go back to my share. I'm going to go to the Dcas website. So this is our Dcas website. Definitely put this inside the chat. Raymond will probably put it in for me. When you go there, there's a lot of information that I would definitely implore for you to take. For example, our Inside Citywide podcast is really informative. If you have never been there, jump on this Citywide podcast. It's really cool. The first episode is really cool because it has to talk about the pandemic and all the hard work that a lot of city workers did and agencies behind the scene. So if you want to get a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more of an understanding of what the city does, definitely episode 1 is really good. Okay. Definitely scroll down a little bit more. You'll see some quick links here, exam schedule. Even if you're looking for a vehicle, there's a vehicle auction quick link. We do have some tweets here, and this is a picture of the bird above Foley Square in 1935. This is pretty cool. You have some more information. There's some programs and initiatives. I know Raymond said that there was 500. There is a lot. Please take the time to look at some of them that are here. We do have a lot more. The reason why I wanted to show you this is also this it's purple polyfusion. I don't know, someone's going to tell me that this is a different color, but this is our Dcas newsletter. It's really important that you do sign up for it so that each month you can get notifications about civil service exams. And it's just a monthly thing. It's going to be one notification, but it's really important because it may come up and you realize that there's an exam or a job posting that you would like to take. So please sign up for the newsletter, and if you don't want it, you can just unsubscribe. But I'm gonna shout people out. In this time of age of social media, a lot of people get notifications for a lot of other things, like TikTok and Instagram, Facebook. If you can get those notifications, just get one that may have to do with some employment, something that can really help you. So please sign up for the newsletter. I'm always gonna shout that out. Yes, I'm that type of person to say it, but it's really important. So just do that. For the most part, I'm going to click over to the employment section. You can always look at the civil service, all these tabs here. definitely at your own time. Take the time to learn a little bit more about the civil service process. A lot of the information that Raymond and I are talking about will be here, especially especially some of our vocabulary. There is a glossary section. Please look at it. The 55A program, like we had mentioned, is there too. Please look at it, learn a little bit more about it. The exam process. I want to stop here for a moment, especially when you want to apply for an exam, because there's some things I want to talk about here that's really important, especially if you want to apply for an exam. You want to scroll down. There is an exam schedule that you can look at that will give you a little bit more information about the types of exams given out for the month. But I want to talk a little bit more about these additional kind of tabs here, especially the frequently asked questions. If you have any frequently asked questions about taking an exam, definitely look at this. Okay. I know I saw earlier there was some shout outs from people that are in Nigeria. Shout out to those out there. So if you're in Nigeria and you're doing some kind of schooling there, right? If you graduated with I'm not sure if there's a secondary school there, if you graduated with any kind of college or bachelor's, what's equivalent there, say you wanted to use education for some minimum qualifying requirements. We have a foreign education guideline here that you can actually read and look, so you can use that information that you got, or that experience, or that education towards the minimum qualifying requirements. Is really important, because if you did study it, you should get credit for it. So look at the foreign education evaluation. It could definitely help you meet that minimum qualifying requirements. So those out in Nigeria, please look at it. It's a really good foreign evaluation. For anybody here who's a veteran, first I want to say thank you for your service. I know Raymond is a veteran, U.S. Marine, so I want to say thank you to any veterans here. Please look at our frequently asked questions for any veterans here. Special circumstances, if you want to claim your veteran credits, this is a great resource guide. And of course, if you want to know about the application fee waiver, so if you're having any financial hardship, if you're unemployed, you're on public assistance, you're receiving some form of social service benefits, you can get an application fee waiver, so you don't have to pay for the for the exam. This is very important, and I wanted to stop here to show you this, because this is information you should know, especially if you want to take a civil service exam. I'm going to click over to the tab that says exam schedule. Please look at it. We have two types of exams paperwork. One is in alpha order, which is everything in alphabetical order, and then the application period order, which I'm going to click on right now. This is just going to break down every exam for every month. Now, for the city, very important to know that our fiscal year is not the same as the calendar year, January to December. Our fiscal year runs from July to the next June. So that means next month, our fiscal year will be ending, and then the new one will start on July 1st of 2022. That's when the new exam schedule will be released. But in the most part, I want to show you what exams are out. We still have the filing date is still open for May. So I want to scroll down slowly. Okay, so here we are in May. We do have some open competitive exams that are open, like administrative inspector. We have the housing assistant, probation officer. We have school safety agent. Okay, if you click on any of the hyperlinks that are in the second column, it's going to tell you a little bit more about what this position means for the city of New York. What are the qualifications? What are the tasks and standards? A lot of the information you'll find on those job specifications will be on the notice of examination. But I do want to mention next month. Now, June is going to be a very busy month. We have a lot of exams coming out, but we have some titles that are really, really important. I want to talk about the Clerical Associate one for anybody here who's looking for an entry-level position to get into the city. And now, this exam, if you take, you might not get the results for at least 12 months. Okay, you don't know what your household composition is going to be, or where you're going to be in 1 year when this list comes out. So I always tell people, think about not now about, I don't want to take an exam now. Think about a year from now. Where are you going to be a year from now? A lot of people will say, I don't know. Well, that's the answer. If you don't know, take the test. You don't know what can come up. Now, Clerical Associate, if you click on 2108, it's going to tell you a little bit more about what this position entails for the city of New York. It's going to tell you what the title code is. Every title has a title code. It's going to tell you what the duties and responsibilities are, what the assignment levels are going to be. There's a level 1 and there's a level 2. So that means you can get promoted internally to different levels. Okay, scroll down a little bit more. It's going to tell you a level 3. So that means you can get promoted internally 3 different times. Okay, let's keep on going down. Go down a little bit more, there's a level 4. Keep on scrolling down. There's different levels. This is a great opportunity that you know that there's room for advancement. Now, the only qualification for this position is a 4-year high school diploma, okay, and at least 1 year of satisfactory clerical experience. Okay, so if you have any foreign education that you want to get evaluated, this would be a great opportunity to then reach out and see if you can get it, and you can get the US equivalent so that can match it to a 4-year high school diploma. Okay, that's just the minimum qualifications for this position. This will also tell you if there's any direct lines of promotion. Yes, there is. So if you hold any of these under titles, you can get promoted into one of these here inside the administrative positions or anything of that nature. So this is a great tool just to know if you can get promoted or advance in your title. Okay, so I'm going to take you out of here. You do have it. I'm going to probably put this inside the chat. If I can just click on it, I can't really see it because things in the way, but I would like to put this into the, let me see if I can just do it. Let's see it. I probably won't be able to do it because I already did it. Here it is, yep. I'm gonna put this into the chat because I want you guys to see the exam schedule and know what's gonna be coming out, okay? For the most part, I'm gonna kick it back over here. Okay, if you do want to apply for a position, I want to look at a notice of examination. This is really important. So I'm going to look at 2 of them. The first one is Housing Assistant 2107. It's open right now. This is the document that I was telling you that you're responsible to read. We can't read it for you. And once you read it and once you apply, it basically tells us that you read it and you're okay with it. And that's why you're applying for this exam. It's going to give you the title, which is Housing Assistant. It's going to tell you the exam number, which is equivalent to the, not your list number, but the exam in which you're going to be on 2107. When to apply. This is still open until next week, May 24th. Please apply for it. Now you see this empty space here. There's nothing here but big gray. Now, if you see that 99% of the time, it means that this is an education and experience exam. So what does that mean? It means that this test will be rated based upon what you hold in your experience and your education. It means that you won't be taking any multiple choice exam. So the exam is really on you. You are the exam. There is an application fee fee for $54, but you can get it waived if you have any financial hardship, if you're a US veteran. It tells you right here that you're responsible to read the entire notice. Please do so. It'll tell you the salary. It'll tell you the qualifications, okay? Now, here we go. So here is the minimum qualifications for housing assistant. If you have a bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university, stop right there. That's number 1, right? So say you have it. Anybody here have a bachelor's degree? So if you have a bachelor's degree, you can put that inside the chat. You got a 70 right now. That's how the test goes. Right now, you hold a 70 because you have a bachelor's. But say I don't have a bachelor's. Say I have a high school diploma, but I have 4 years of full-time experience working in a housing, management at a development, or a development containing at least 150 apartments. Say I have that, yes, I still have a 70, okay? This is how the exam works. So if you met any of these qualifications right now under 1, 2, or 3, you are now starting off with a 70. Stop right there, okay? Make sure you read any of the bold letterings here to make sure when your education and your experience has to be met. Very important, okay? If you are going to do any foreign evaluation, you have 8 weeks to submit that in. So you have time for that. We're not expecting that to happen overnight. Make sure you read anything that has to do with residency. Any of these links inside our notice of examinations are active. So if I click on exams for jobs, it'll take me to where I can apply. And I'll show you that in a second. Okay, these are our 5 computer-based testing and application centers where you can make an appointment. You can go in there to either apply for a position, a civil service exam. You can drop off any information that you need, any documentation. Scroll down a little bit more. Our special circumstances guide, as well as active, click on it. Scroll down a little bit more, and here's the test, right? So far, if you remember what I said, you guys already have a 70 if you met either 1, 2, or 3. You have a 70, perfect. How do I get more points, right? Because you want to get a little bit more. Say you have a little bit more work experience in governmental agency managing housing developments. If you have, say, for example, 5 years or 6 years, you can get a maximum up to 30 points if you have 60 or more months. So now 30 plus your 70, now you have 100. This is how the exam works when it comes to an education and experience exam. Okay, scroll down a little bit more. Okay, you give more information if you have to change your social or your email address. this is where I want to stop at for selective certification. This is very, very important. This can help you get hired faster. So if you speak another language or hold another license or you have a certification, make sure you put down anything that is applicable to you. If you speak another language, okay, please put that down. So I don't know how many people are in this room right now, say 104 people, right? If we all took this exam and say John scored 70, I'm the last one on the list. I am list number 104. But guess what? I'm the only person here who speaks Chinese, the only one, and that's my selective certification. But say they're looking for a housing assistant who speaks Chinese. And guess who's the only one who does that? This guy. Guess who's going to get hired first? Me. So it's very important that selective certification, please don't overlook it. Okay, there may be some other ones there that may have to do with driver's license or certification, especially when you get to those IT positions. Please put down anything that is applicable to you. Scroll down a little bit more. This is how a notice of examination is. Now, say for example, you want to learn a little bit more about what a multiple choice is. This is for traffic enforcement agent. You see, remember here, we had that big gray spot. There was nothing here, but this one here is telling you that there is a multiple choice test and it will begin on June 15th. Now that's important. Why? Let's scroll down a little bit more. The same information will be there, but a different wording as far as meeting the minimum qualifying requirements. This one, you just need a high school diploma to be a traffic enforcement agent. Scroll down a little bit more, give you more information on what you want to do. And then you're going to go all the way down to the test. Now, the multiple choice test, it's going to tell you what the test is about. So when somebody says, what is this test going to be about? Let's go back up. I think I just passed it. Here it is. Here's the test. You're going to be given certain abilities for you to be tested on, like written comprehension, written expression. So this is what the test is going to be on. It'll tell you. Now, you could look this up in Google to probably help you. We don't have any study guides. We don't have any group sessions that you can come and study. So I apologize for that. We don't have that. But this is what you be guided on what you do. So whatever you get on the multiple choice test will be your score as far as your list. So if you scored 100, then you get 100. If you scored an 87, then that's what your score is going to be, an 87. Now, say you want to take this exam. You say, John, I'm ready. Remember I told you about that active link? Let's click on it. It's going to take you to where you have to apply. If you've never been here before, of course, you're going to have to register as a new user. But say you know it already, and you say to yourself, John, I already registered. There is no money involved. Okay. I'm going to put in my credentials. Hopefully I can get in, and I paid my, yep, here we go. So now I'm going to apply. I want to apply for, let's see, anybody here? Let's go with that housing assistant exam. I'm going to apply for it. Okay. Here it is right here. So this is the exam. All right. You want to make sure that this is the right title, because some people sometimes go into the wrong titles. Here's that notice of examination again, right? Now, but this time we made sure that you're actually going to read it, because you have to click on I acknowledge for you to continue. So if you don't click it, then you won't be able to go further. But because you clicked it, it's telling us that, yes, you have read it. Okay. Then you're going to apply for it. Here's your profile. Make sure all your information's correct. Have your own email address. And I say this because I've seen people who have other people's email addresses and things are going to that other person. And maybe you might have broken up and this person's not sharing this information. So make sure you have your own information here. If you are going to claim any veterans or any legacy credits, now legacy doesn't mean that a family member used to work for the city. It means that your parent died in the line of duty, or you had a sibling die in the line of duty as a result of 9/11. That's very important. If you need more guidance on what that means, we do have a special circumstances guide that you could just click, and this will open for you to understand a little bit more before you start clicking. Because some people just do it. I'm just going to click away, and this right here will give you 30 points right here. And they say, "No, I just clicked it." This will actually give you an extra 30 points, but we're going to verify that. We're not just going to take someone's clicking as it. We are going to verify it. So you're going to put down where you learned about this information. This is at the information session, provided by the Hispanic Federation. There you go. And then you're going to continue. Here's the payment. If you can pay by credit card, that's fine. If you need to submit a money order, you can always send it to our Dcas application unit, and the information is listed here. Or you can make an appointment and bring it to one of our computer-based testing and application centers. Say you're a veteran. and you have your DD-214. And for veterans out there, again, thank you for your service. But you know this terminology, the DD-214, make sure it's the long form so we know what was your discharge, if it was honorable or under honorable conditions. Those are the two. Of course, we want to look at your dates of service to make sure that it was active wartime service and not that you were brought up under some form of training. Usually Title 10 is a presidential call-up and Title 32 is for training purposes only. Say you're on public assistance, which is fine. If you are, you can always put your New York State ID in here and you can get the application fee waived. Even if you're not on full public assistance, but say you're unemployed, you're receiving Medicaid, or maybe you're receiving supplemental security income, SSI, you can also provide that information to our Dcas application unit so you can get the fee waived. And we talk about this because it's important. Life happens. And so if you can get the fee waiver, then that's even better. Okay, so just think about that. At this point, you're going to agree to your terms. Now, I can't go on to the next page because then I'll be showing you the exam and somebody's going to try to look for me to say, why are you showing everybody the exam? But I do want to put in here our frequently asked questions when it comes to exams, because it's very, very informative. So I want to put that in there so you can see it. If you have any questions about payments, accounts, what happens, what ifs, there's a lot of information here. So please look at it. Okay. So for the most part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut back over to the presentation so we have time to go over a little bit more. So I'm glad that you took this opportunity. I hope to take a little breather. I know that that's a lot of information to consume. Okay, so take your time. All right, say, John,
Good
I'm
job,
ready
John.
for it. All right.
Good job.
So let's go back in now. Like I mentioned, we have the two types of exams. We have the education and experience exam, which is based on you, and then of course the multiple choice. Now the exam for the education experience exam, you are going to be doing it at the comfort of your own computer, if you're at home or at work, and it's usually a 3-week window, for you to do the the application. So you can go do a little bit, go back out, watch a movie, watch some sports, cook, clean, do whatever you got to do, and then come back and work on it. Questions are based on your education and your experience. The points are given first by meeting the minimum, and then of course anything additional is added on top of that minimum. Now, the multiple choice exam, unfortunately, you cannot take at your own leisure, like in your own home with your pajamas. And I've done that when I've taken some exams. But the exams will be given at one of our testing centers or at a school. We usually get one of the public schools to give it to us so we can do it. But I think we're more going towards the computer base. So you will be going to one of our testing centers. Some of the exams will be self-scheduling, or we'll have a specific date that will give you maybe a month or two after the, after the application period ends. Like I said, there's no study guides. So you're going to have to learn a little bit more about those skill and ability or topics in which you're going to have to study. And just make sure, because the notice of examination really tells you those areas. So that's where you're going to be guided by. Okay. So now what happens? So when you take an education experience exam at the computer terminal, you are going to get a tentative score, which is really good. So you know if you passed or failed. So it's very important. So when you do the education experience exam, look at the tentative score, because if you know for a fact that you should have gotten 100 and the tentative score says 70, that means something wasn't actually done correctly. So before you do final submit, please go back and review it. Multiple choice exams, you will be taking this at a computer terminal, and you are going to get your results, but it's only going to tell you the scores or the answers you got correct. So this is important. Why? If you know that there was a question during that multiple choice exam, and sometimes life happens because we're human and mistakes are made. There may be a question like, for example, what's 2 plus 2? Everybody here should know that it's 4, right? Okay. But what if the answer A, B, C, and D doesn't give you that option of 4? You are going to protest it because, hey, I couldn't answer it. So it's good to know which questions are on the fence and which ones you can actually argue about to say that I should get credit for. Okay, so that's very important, and that'll be at the time that you take that multiple choice exam. So the estimated time, like we told you, is about between 6 and 12 months. It really depends on the list. If there's only 200 people taking the exam, that may probably be faster than a list that may have thousands. Okay, so you should really think about the protest review session, especially if you know that those questions are on the cuff. We have to verify that. If you are claiming veterans or legacy credits, we are going to verify that. We're going to call people in. We're going to verify the information. We're just not going to give free answers, or more scores just because you click on. So make sure that you have your information readily available to verify that information. Okay, and once everything is rated, it will be sent out via email. We no longer send it by USPS, which is the United States Postal Service. So make sure that your email address is always updated and it's your email address. Okay. So what happens when you get called for the interview? So, well, we're going to talk about that. So after the exam is rated, there is an eligible list, okay? And it's going to be the list of people whose scores are from, top to bottom, from highest all the way down to lowest. Everybody has to be in some numeric order. So some people are going to say, but what if I have the same score as the person next to me? I understand that. There is a sample there. So John Doe has 100, so does Jane S. But because we have to have a numeric order, we're going to look at John Doe and Jane S's social security numbers. So if the last 5 digits of John Doe is 0001 and Jane S is 0002, that means John Doe is list number 1. That's the way we have to have it. We can't have a 1B, a 1C, a 1C. We can't have that. Okay. You are notified via email, and your online application system dashboard is going to have all that information as well. Okay, so what happens when the list is created? Agencies with open positions for the exam title will receive a portion of the list from Dcas. Okay, so the hiring agency will then start to schedule a hiring pool, which is a set of interviews that are set up for multiple candidates. So it's very important that you go to it. When your list number is reached on the list, the agency will send you a call letter. It's very important that you respond to the call letter. Even if you can't make it, it will tell you how to formally decline the interview, okay? What you want to do, this is about business, and you want to be professional, okay? So for each position, at least 3 candidates will be interviewed, and at least 1 must be hired. This is the 1 in 3 rule that we have in New York City. So if I'm hiring for 1 clerical associate, I'm going to call list numbers 1, 2, and 3. Of those 3, I have to select 1. It could be number 3. It doesn't necessarily have to be number 1. Okay, maybe number 1 didn't do a good interview. Okay, so tips: you want to always treat your appointments as a real interview. Do not discount it as go in there. You are there to impress the hiring managers, because this is the first time they're actually meeting you. They got your resume, they got your cover letter, or you took an exam. Nobody's seen you yet. This is the first time that you are being met. So please go in there. Make sure you look at the job description, bring your best self to the interview. And if there's one tip I will give to the 110 people that are here, and as a city employee and as a city manager who sat on the other side, please come to your interview with at least 1 question. Okay, if you come in there, because one of the questions I will ask, I'll tell you right now, is do you have any questions for me? And when I hear somebody say, nah, I don't have anything, I'm good. No, you're not. You have no idea what this job entails. You don't know what the environment is at the office. You don't even know how I got my job. So please ask a question, okay? That's very, very important. If there's some tips you need to know about getting a job, just have a question available for any job interview, okay? So the call letter, it is a notice of a hiring pool. So basically you're being called to be interviewed. This is not an offer of employment. It's not a notice of appointment. This is for you to come down and be interviewed. And like I said, come to impress. If it's virtual, if you have to do the interview virtually, please have a quiet room. Okay, make sure that it's during a time where there's no other distractions. Please dress to impress, because even though you're only going to be on the small little rectangular kind of screen, please be, professional. Always have that question ready. Okay. The call letter is going to have the job description. It'll tell you a little bit more about the business title, location, salary details. So please look at that. It'll also include instructions on how to decline the interview. Say you can't make it because life happens. That's fine. We understand that. Just let us know. Okay. And then, of course, you have to restore your name to the list. And it's very important because it's your responsibility to restore your name to the list. We're going to give you an email regarding how to do that list restoration. You would send it to LMA, the letters LMA, customer service at dcas.nyc.gov. Because if you ignore a call letter and you blow it off, if you don't ignore it, you will then be removed from the list. So just please, please, just be professional when it comes to any kind of call letter. Okay, so now you got the offer. What happens now? Now, if you know about the city, yes, the city can be a little bit extensive as far as its paperwork. This is bureaucratic red tape, as they say, but you want to make sure that your documents, what you can control, you have available. That means your high school diploma or your equivalency. If you're doing that foreign education, make sure that you already submitted to one of our approved services and that they sent the copy over to Dcas. If you have any college degrees, or make sure you have your official transcripts. If you want to give it into the agency, make sure it's in a sealed envelope. Don't open it up. Once you open it, it becomes an unofficial. Keep it inside the sealed envelope. Have your social security card if you need to have it, or any kind of proof for your working relationship. Make sure that you have your birth certificate or passport or anything that is needed to meet one of those. Oh, is it the I-9 list of things that you need to provide as far as your verification of your ID? If you're under 18, make sure you have your work permit. We do have some interns that are under 18. They want to make sure that they have their work permits. And every city employee who gets hired, you will be fingerprinted and you will undergo a background investigation. Now, the fingerprint is both federal and state. Okay, I want to make that known out there because some people say, oh, I thought it was just for the state of New York. Nope, we go federal as well. Okay, so a little bit more about if you get hired. If you do get hired, like Raymond had mentioned during that job posting, is to make sure that you are vaccinated. And as of August 2nd, 2021, all new hires must be vaccinated. So you will have to provide that. So just make sure you have that available. You will get a copy of the slides, so all this information here you'll definitely get, so you can understand a little bit more about what to do. The criminal conviction part, there is a onus of it, is really important. So you want to make sure, the number one question people ask is, what if you do have a criminal conviction? Can you still be considered for employment with the city of New York? And the answer is yes. Okay, it is unlawful to discriminate against persons who were previously convicted of one or more criminal offenses, unless, now this is not something that is made up by people inside a room upstairs. This is actually one of our, this is a part of the correction law that we have in New York State. So say, for example, there are two conditions that can make, I guess, a red flag come up. So say, for example, you have a direct relationship between the offense that happened in your past and the employment for which you're seeking. So say, for example, and the example we have here is, say, for example, you were convicted of bank robbery. Okay. Okay. You might be denied employment as a cashier who handles monetary, funds. Okay. Or there's an unreasonable risk to property or the safety or welfare of specific individuals or the general public if employment is granted. Okay, which is kind of broad. I know somebody's probably going, well, that could be anything. But there is an example that we hear is that if you were convicted of drug possession, right, and you're applying to work as a child protective specialist, you might be denied. Why? Because the child protective specialist, their number one priority is to work with a vulnerable population of children. So that's why when we talk about the welfare of specific individuals, we talk about maybe protected classes. So think about that as well. But if you do meet any of these, please don't think that this is just an automatic yes and no, check off a box. No, there are some other factors that have to come into play. Okay, so it's not just this, it's also like the time that the occurrence happened. What was your age? Was it just a youthful indiscretion, or was it at a time that you were a reasonable adult? There's a lot of information that has to go with it. But also a part of the disclosure process, when you do the application for the city of New York, you want to make sure that you are required and that you report all of your convictions and pending charges. That's very important. Page 3 of the employment application basically asks to report all convictions. It doesn't have a time frame. So I want that to be known as well, that most people say, well, most places, they just ask for 7 years. The city don't ask for 7 years, doesn't ask for 10 years. It asks for any time. So that goes back as far as it can go back. Just make sure that if you can't recall and that happens, just put that down. Listen, I don't recall all of my convictions, but I know it started back in the 80s. Put that down, safe than sorry. If you are applying for a position, say that has peace officer or special patrolman status, you're not required to report those sealed records for like civilian positions, like for example, clerical associate. You don't have to put that down. However, if you are going to go for that peace officer, police officer, special patrolman, firefighter, you have to list down all your arrests as part of the investigation process. Okay, it's really important, especially if you have that special designation. If you already been hired by the city, and unfortunately, we find out that you failed to disclose a conviction or pending criminal charge, you can be terminated. And that's why the number one reason why most applicants are disqualified for employment with the city of New York is because they failed to disclose their criminal convictions. So just look at, if you get a chance, Raymond, if you could just put it there, Local Law 63 or the Fair Chance Act. The city is guided by certain policies. So it's not an automatic yes and no anymore. We have to go through a lot of stuff just to make sure that if there is something found out, that there's a due process that you're entitled to. Okay, so what did we learn today? There's a lot of things that we learned today, and I hope I didn't oversaturate you guys with everything. But there's the newyorkcity.gov/jobs website. This is where you're going to look for those current open positions, right? This is where you'll be applying individually for a specific agency. You're going to be called based on your resume and cover letter. So make sure, if the Hispanic Federation maybe has a resume and cover letter workshop, attend it. Work to update your resume and cover letter. And a cover letter, just be honest with you, please let it be just one page. A cover letter should not be 2, 3, 4. We're not reading essays. One page should suffice. You should have 4 paragraphs. And I'm going to give you some tips. The first paragraph should tell us why you're interested in the position, why you want to. Okay. The second paragraph should say why Dcas is the agency for which you want to work with. Maybe our mission statement is aligned to what you want to do, or maybe our services that we provide to a community is what you're looking to do. The third paragraph should be why you're a good match for us. Maybe based on your education experience or your life, experiences, you feel more aligned to what we do here. And then the fourth paragraph should be, what is your call to action? Are you ready to be interviewed? Can you start? That's what it should be. And of course, if you're applying for 55A, make sure you put down that statement that you want to be considered for the 55A program. Okay, you will be interviewed once. It is a faster hiring process, but it comes with less job security. The Dcas website, you can apply for the exams. The list will be used by multiple exams. If you pass, you then put on a list for hire. That list number, you'll have multiple chances to be interviewed by multiple city agencies. It is a longer hiring process, but it comes with more job security. So my tip is to do both. Do the jobs board and the Dcas exams. Do both at the same time, okay? And if you're ready to work to join our city's workforce, maybe just consider the type of work you want to do and where you want to work. Go to the jobs board. Remember, we have those internships and fellowships. Don't forget about that as well. Look at the agencies. You can just look up on Google if you want to work for a specific agency. Everybody has their own website. So definitely look at that. Go to the Dcas website. Learn about the civil service exam. I showed you where to look for a lot of stuff there. Click on it to get a better understanding of what you're getting yourself into. And it's very important. And knowledge is key. And remember, take as many multiple exams as you can, especially if you qualify and if you haven't. And of course, please don't forget to sign up for our Dcas newsletter. If you have any questions, we do have an email address. This is, looked by our team. Please send it, especially if you have a question, which usually people have after the presentation. You'll have it over the weekend. You know what? I just thought of something. Let me just send it in. We do have a phone number at 212-386-1701. So if you were to call it, it's right here. Phone will pick up, okay? And there'll be a human person. It won't be some Autobot there. Stay connected. Look at our social media pages. We do have information that we usually put up there, especially for some of our upcoming events. And we do have a lot of upcoming events. Today is the 19th. Next week, we do have an event that I'm going to see if I can put that into the chat. We do have one that is specifically for anybody who's looking for summer internships. We have a lot of agencies and a lot of lines of service here that are looking for summer internships. So we are going to have a big event next week. I'll put that information in there for anybody who's interested. We also have anybody here of Asian American or Pacific descent. We are going to have our Asian American Pacific Islander recognition, which is next week as well on the 26th. So there's a lot of events that we have going on. And in June, we have a lot more going on too, including our Civil Service 101 that is open for the general public, where we're going to talk about those exams coming out in June, as well as a special one for anybody who's in the auto industry who wants to learn more about auto mechanic and all that. We are going to have that for next month. If you don't sign up for the newsletter, you might not get all this information. Okay. And at that point, anybody who has any questions, please let us know, and I'll try to put those informations in as far as where to sign up for our events next week. I'll put that into the chat where you can just click on. Thank you, Raymond. He just put in regards to the AAPI City Talk. So that is the Asian American Pacific Islander, Heritage Month City Talk panel, where we're going to have people of descent talk about their, professional journeys. And then, of course, we also have the summer internship, which is, I believe, next the 25th, which is going to be a lot. We have over close to 300 people registered already with a lot of city agencies that are looking for work. So please attend that, and I'll put that in there as soon as I can get that link in there.
Awesome.
And yep, and that's it from my end.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Raymond, for that very comprehensive presentation. You guided us through the search, bringing awareness of how much opportunities are available and how applicants should navigate the different routes and subsectors of the civil service. Like, this has been super insightful. And if you guys haven't noticed, the chat is on fire. Everyone talking about how interesting this is. Thank you for the information and how insightful it is. So again, thank you so much for your time. I'm just going to check in really quick into the chat to see if there's any questions that you may have. And just please note, everyone, we are sharing these resources at the end of the presentation. You'll get an email of all of the links, the presentation, and all upcoming events that John and Raymond shared. So please stay tuned. If you miss anything, you will be getting that email right after the presentation. But I'm just checking if we have any questions in the chat. We have one from Lilia. It says, what happens if I miss an interview?
Okay. It's definitely not the end of the world. If you do miss the interview, what's going to happen is if you didn't already let them know that you weren't going to make it, you would have to restore your name back to the list. I believe, Raymond, let me see if I could put the email address inside there. This is the email address for the customer service unit that handles restorations. And it's Dcas, it's LMA that, hold on, let me just put this in there so then I can speak. I'm saying 5 things at one time in my head. So LMA customer service at dcas.nyc.gov, and LMA stands for List Management and Audits. They're the ones who restore your name back to the list. So it's not the end of the world if you miss it. Life happens. Just make sure that you restore your name back to the list so you can get called again.
Awesome, perfect, thank you. And one more question we have. Sure. Would it be possible to apply from Nigeria? So I remember, John, you touched on your foreign education program, but if you could just, yes. Okay.
So definitely, if you are from anywhere outside of the US, you still can apply. You can apply and definitely do the foreign evaluation, especially if you're going to be using any kind of education from a foreign country to meet the minimum qualifying requirements. Definitely look at how to do that. You would need to contact one of our approved services. There is a list, pick one, and then they know the process. They will then reach out to your school inside your country. Hopefully that they're still there, because I know that some countries, there's a lot of schools that aren't there anymore. But if your school is still there, they will contact to get the official transcript. They have professionals here who know how to evaluate, and then they will give a US equivalent to what your foreign education is, and then send that to Dcas. So if you've done the work over there and that's equivalent to a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, we will know, and then that would be included as part as your as a part of your application process for the for the exam. Just be mindful that you might have to come here to do the work. So make sure if you are going to be coming to the US, there is a New York City requirement for certain positions. That would be a long commute from there, but definitely, you could definitely apply. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much again, John and Raymond and the Department of Citywide Administrative Services for the great information and a wide array of opportunities open to the public sector. Again, just that breakdown and how thorough this presentation was. We're really hoping that everyone in the audience can further explore and take advantage of the wide array of opportunities that we have. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you. And also, we would love to hear from you. from the audience, please, if you can take 2 minutes or less to complete the survey by scanning the QR code that's on your screen, or Peter, my colleague and teammate that's been of so much support, he just put the survey link on the chat. So just take 2 minutes, it's 6 questions. If you can please respond and just let us know your feedback of today's session. And also, if you would like to learn more about the Hispanic Federation, please visit our website at hispanicfederation.org and click on updates to stay in the loop of upcoming events with a wider range of topics. We are currently promoting first our health insurance assistance hotline, where you can call or email the following information shown on the screen to get help with signing up for health insurance if that's of interest to you and your family. Then we also have another upcoming event, which is going to be in Spanish. And this is in regards to financial education, help with college applications. And this is going to be in Spanish. It could be related or helpful to you, but also to parents that are not comfortable with these webinars in English and their primary language is in Spanish. You could definitely stay tuned. And that event will be happening. The link is there and it's happening later on today. So please sign up if you or any of your family members would love to tune in and learn more. And lastly, we encourage you to sign up for our 3rd session of our career series that's happening next week, Job Hunting Strategies, where we will help you navigate job portals and prepare a resume and cover letter to discuss job preparedness. So this could also be useful to prepare for the opportunities that John and Raymond mentioned earlier today. To register for that event, please visit us again at hispanicfederation.org/Career Expo 2022. Again, this is, sorry, that's my girl joining us. This is the second part of a 4-part career webinar series, and we will love to continue to support you guys and provide a holistic set of resources to pick up extra skills and inform your advancement with your career. Thank you all for attending, and we will see you again at 11 a.m. next week. Again, this will be for our job hunting strategies on May 24th.